been a pretty good year for blue Grand Hero battle units, and that trend is looking like it's not stopping anytime soon. Fallen Delthea is here in accordance with this year's Fallen Heroes banner and is a blue infantry mage. She shares some traits with her original form, but has some nice additions to her stats and kit. Fallen Delthea has 41 HP, 36 attack, 33 speed, 19 defense, and 20 resistance. Her offensive stats largely have stayed the same, with a great base attack stat and decent speed stat. However, it's her defensive stats that have come a long way. Regular Delthea is tied with Lucius for lowest defense in the entire game at a pathetic 13 defense. She also only has 33 HP, which only gives her 46 physical bulk, which is absolutely awful, and I'm pretty sure is the lowest in the game still. Fallen Delthea has 8 more HP and 6 more defense in comparison, and while not setting any records, that is way better and can prevent way more one-shots from physical damage. Fallen Delthea's stats are going to be a huge talking point in this video because for a reward unit they are quite good. They can also be improved upon thanks to her unique weapon. Fallen Delthea's weapon is literally called Death. It's not a fancy tome by any means, but boy is it a lot of fun. Death is the standard 14-might tome and it grants a +3 flat resistance. That's not all though, because Death also grants +4 attack, speed, defense, and +4 more resistance during combat. After combat, if Delthea attacks, she would then take 4 recoil damage. So at a glance, this weapon basically sounds like it has a better Fury 4 effect, same stats but less recoil damage. However, there are a few things you need to keep in mind because Fury has a lot of uses, and some of those are lost in this Death tome. First off, the +4 to all stats only occur during combat. Why does this matter, you may ask? Well, there are a lot of skills in the game that like to do stat checks before combat starts. For example, Ploy's skills. Some units like Arvis like to use Fury because it grants extra flat res, which in turn lets them apply Ploy debuffs to more targets. Delthea would have a fantastic 35 flat res if that stat boost was applied at all times, but it's not. This can be somewhat helpful though, because Cho skills also exist, and check who has the high stats on a team. Delthea may have a lower attack stat than a teammate outside of combat, which in turn would allow her to avoid a Cho attack debuff. Besides the stat boost only applying during combat, Death only deals 4 recoil damage compared to Fury 4's 8 damage. This damage also only occurs if Delthea attacks, whereas Fury's recoil damage occurs whenever a unit is within a battle. For example, if Delthea takes a hit from a Dazzling Staff enemy, she won't be able to counterattack, but then she won't also lose 4 more HP after combat. Also, Death may have been more interesting if it had kept the higher amount of recoil damage. On one hand, Delthea isn't killing herself as fast. However, Fury is very commonly used to purposefully drop to low HP because we have many skills that only activate on low health. The 4 recoil damage has its pros and cons. Delthea's special is Glacies, and with just Death equipped, she'll have 35 resistance during combat, so it's not a bad special if you want big damage. For A skill, she has Death Blow 3, which regular Delthea also has. Her C skill has gone from the pretty helpful Drive Attack skill to Even Attack Wave. Delthea can still support her allies with attack buffs, but now she too can reap the benefits. If you've been keeping track, altogether Delthea gets +4 to all stats from Death with an extra +3 flat res too. Death Blow adds +6 attack on initiations, and Even Attack Wave grants a +6 attack field buff every other turn. Just from her base kit, Delthea can get +16 attack, and at the very least +10 attack on every other turn. With her decent stats and the all-around stat increase from Death, Fallen Delthea starts out as a high damage blue mage who can also take some hits if necessary. This section where we talk about neutral natures is becoming one of my favorite parts. If Fallen Delthea is to your liking and you want to invest in her a little bit, she will get a nice bonus from the neutral nature. Normally, the first merge will give Delthea +1 HP and +1 attack. For the neutral nature, she will get an additional +1 HP, +1 attack, and then +1 speed. All around, very good stats for Delthea. Obviously, the extra attack is very nice, and with that +1 merge, you get 2 points, which is awesome. Delthea is kind of in a weird speed gap, so another point is good to go along with the extra +4 from her weapon. She also likes the extra HP, since with extra defense and res from her Death tome, Fallen Delthea has some okay physical and magical bulk. If you want to use Delthea but aren't looking to +10 her, a single +1 merge is a great investment for 43 HP, 38 attack, and 34 speed. There are a lot of powerful blue mages in the game, and anytime we get a new one, they pretty much immediately get compared to Reinhardt. Fallen Delthea will definitely not be dethroning the Dire Thunder King, and there's a lot of other good blue mages too, like Ophelia or Teotihu. Her Death weapon doesn't bring any kind of new mechanic, and it's just a stat booster, although a very good one at that. Still, if you're looking for a free/reward blue mage, Fallen Delthea is a very strong contender. Our 3 other reward blue mages have all been Grand Hero battle units, and just from stats alone, Delthea is clearly the strongest offensive option. In terms of defense, she almost has as much HP and defense as Oliver, and while her base res is the lowest among the group, her unique weapon does add that +3 at all times, not to mention the +4 during combat. Sias isn't a bad matchup, and while he does have the War God's Tome allowing him to be a ploy debuff machine, making him somewhat unique. Unfortunately for Oliver and Ursula, they don't have unique weapons, and Delthea's stats are boosted to some incredible heights with her Death Tome. She probably won't be as scary as some of the other high offensive blue mages due to a lack of double attacks or special spamming, but her attack and speed are solid for a free unit. With her decent defensive bulk included, I think Fallen Delthea is a fantastic free blue mage option. The thing I like about Fallen Delthea is that she can be very simple and her base kit works well on its own. Her 36 base attack combined with death and its extra +4 attack gets Delthea up to 54 attack at any given time. If she gets even attack waves buff and initiates with death blow, she can rate 66 attack, and for a free unit that sounds pretty darn good. Her speed will get bumped up to 37 as well, which isn't super fast, but workable. For example, Death Blow is a decent Sacred Seal if you want more speed, and with Delthea's decent defense and res, plus Death's recoil damage, she could probably get into Desperation range pretty easily. Desperation units do want that extra speed, so if you do go that route and have extra Swift Sparrow fodder, that's a consideration to use instead of Death Blow. Delthea can hit hard with just her basic attack, so if you aren't concerned with speed, Heavy Blade can be nice to charge up her Glacies or whatever special you want instead. I would actually recommend Dragon Fang since Delthea has so much attack that it can outdamage Glacies. Glimmer is a good option too. For B skills other than Desperation, you could have fun with Escape Route since Delthea will eventually lower her HP over time. Chill Res is another option if you want more single target damage. Fallen Delthea really doesn't need a lot to be a fun mage, but she can be a more interesting unit with some more expensive skills. For example, we've gone over how she has decent HP, defense, and res, so why not add Fortress Defense and Resistance to the mix? Delthea can easily sacrifice 2 attack to get that sweet +6 defense and resistance, and it's flat stats, so she'll have 37 res to work with if you want to use ploy skills. While I think Fortress Defense and Res is great for the extra defense and res at all times, it's not easy to get, and it's just an example of going for a tankier build. Delthea has Death to give her extra attack and speed, so focusing on defensive stats, there is a lot of options like stance skills or bond skills. Double bond skills wouldn't be bad if you want to go for a buffing supportive route with something like a Rally Plus skill or a Link buffing skill. Dull range or chill attack can be annoying to stop hyper offensive units, and of course distant defense is always useful for range tanking. I think if you go defensive with Fallen Delthea, the goal should be to be annoying and tough to kill. With the Death Tome chipping away at her HP, she won't be the greatest defensive unit out there, but will have okay offense stats to do good damage. Sort of similar to Cliff, except Delthea doesn't have to worry about having less attack than her enemy. Because a unit's defensive bulk is HP plus defense and res, things like merges, ally support, or dragon flowers allow defensive builds to scale up higher. Even if you stick with a more offensive build, a highly infested Delthea can have the option to switch over to some more defensive skills if you're ever feeling the need to. While Fallen Delthea can utilize more defensive skill sets, I'm sure her most popular sets will be focused on all-out offense. We have already mentioned it before, but Desperation is nice if Delthea can get a little bit of extra speed. The Death Tome dropping her HP is also beneficial, and of course we can reach those thresholds faster with Fury. Unfortunately, with only Fury 3 combined with Death, that would deal 10 recoil damage to Delthea. Her somewhat high 41 base HP will prevent her from falling into Desperation or Vantage range just barely after one fight. However, if you use Fury 4, it does make a difference. Delthea will take 12 recoil damage instead, and if I did my math right, that's enough to drop even a +10 Fallen Delthea into under 75% HP. That being said, if you have extra HP from Summoner Support or Dragon Flowers or even Blessings, that probably won't be the case anymore, so keep that in mind. While it would be nice to guarantee being in Desperation range after only one battle, I think you may actually be better off if you go big and use a Brazen skill. Of course, we're keeping Brazen attack and res or attack and defense as a Sacred Seal, but having Brazen attack and speed for an A skill could be strong too. Delthea doesn't have enough bulk to take 0 damage, but we just need her to survive to get under 75% HP. Double Brazen attack adding +14 attack, and at least one Brazen adding +7 speed would be amazing for Delthea with Desperation. In the future, if we get Brazen attack and speed as a Sacred Seal, oh boy, Delthea would be very fun, and maybe running Fury 4 might be the better option in that case. I've seen some comparisons to regular Maid Celica and her Ragnarok Tome, and I can see why. Fallen Delthea can run the same type of build, but oh man, the fact that Celica gets Brazen attack and speed on her weapon is just nuts, and that's a whole +7 attack and speed Delthea just can't match. Still, for a free unit, she makes a very respectable high damage mage. So should you promote Fallen Delthea to 5 stars? Well, she has great offenses of 36 attack and 33 speed, and as paired with some surprisingly decent defensive stats, she will definitely not go down without putting up a fight. For her base kit, Delthea has some awesome tools. Her Death Tome is great, adding +4 to all stats in exchange for some recoil damage. It's simple and helps out her nice stat line, but it's definitely not overpowered to the point where she's going to be suddenly replacing the other high tier blue mages. Death Blow plus Even Attack Wave is a fun kit, and Delthea definitely has a good amount of single hit damage. Overall, Fallen Delthea is a nice free blue mage who can run all kinds of different skills. She isn't bringing anything crazy in terms of new mechanics or fancy abilities, but she has a lot of stat points to put to good use. She can use her Death Tome to run builds centered on low HP skills like Desperation or Brazen skills. Delthea also has enough attack and speed to focus on more defensive builds to become an annoying mage to take down. Similar to Cliff, if she can live through 1 or more encounters, that can be enough to cause all kinds of chaos, and it's not like she is lacking damage either. If you're familiar with Fallen Takumi from last year, I think Fallen Delthea is actually somewhat similar. Her weapon is a bit more useful in any type of situation, but the two of them work perfectly fine, being able to dish out good damage while being able to take a hit if they have to. There are many powerful blue mages, so it's not like Delthea is a must-have, but if you just like the character or want another solid mage, she's a really good choice. Thanks for watching this video, and go get Fallen Delthea in her Grand Hero battle map. I'm really happy with how she turned out, and I'll be building her up myself, although I haven't really committed to one build idea just yet. If you have any builds to share with everyone, please leave a comment or share your thoughts on Fallen Delthea as a unit. I'll see you in the next video.